Hey everyone, Eric here. Have you ever been given an XML file as a data source and wanted to be able to deserialize it into domain objects? Well, in today's video, I'll show you how to dynamically create C# classes to support an XML file and how to import XML data. First, let's go find ourselves some test data. I went to W3 Schools and found this CD catalog. So there's a fair amount of data here to play with. Let's right-click and click on View Page Source, so we can get the actual XML. We'll need this later. Alright, now let's start up Visual Studio and create a new project. We'll keep it simple and create a console app. And I'll keep all of the defaults about the name and folder location. Then we'll stick with the .NET 8.0 framework. Okay, let's create our XML data file by creating a new empty XML file in the project. And then copy the data from the W3 Schools webpage we were looking at the beginning of the video into our clipboard. And paste it into the XML file we created. Okay, we have the data file, which will also act as our template used to create the classes. Now I want to highlight and copy to the clipboard all of the data except for the header line. And now it's time to do a little auto-generation of classes. Let's create a class file. You can call it whatever you like. Then highlight the class code. Go to the Edit menu, click on Paste Special, and finally paste XML as classes. Visual Studio has taken the XML in our clipboard and converted it into classes for us. Now, as you can see from all of the little blue squiggles, it's not perfectly formatted. The only reason I don't change mine is because if the XML schema changes and you need to regenerate this code that Visual Studio created, you'll lose your changes. So, as obnoxious as I find the variable naming conventions, I just leave them as is. Let's talk for a minute about the classes Visual Studio had generated for us. One thing you should consider are the variable types that were assigned. For instance, take a look at the year field. It's been assigned a U_short. For a year value, that's okay, but I've had other XML documents where it just happened that the values in my example weren't large enough, and the type I really needed was an int, or maybe something supporting even larger numbers than that. If you see that happening, the easiest way to fix it is to go into the XML document you're using to generate your classes, find the value that's been misrepresented, and change its value to something large enough to support the largest value you would expect to have. Then go through the process of copying the XML data and repeating the process for creating the classes. Check that out. The type is now a U_long, and I only had to change one of the example data fields. Another nice touch is that all of the classes that were generated are partial classes. That means we can add functionality to a class that was automatically generated by creating a new class file and creating a class with the same signature as the one in the class file that was auto-generated. Let's take a look at how that works. Let's say I want to add some validation functionality to the CD class. All I have to do is create a new class file. In this case, I'll call it the same name as the class I want to add a function to. And then make the class partial. Then we add a isValid function. Not saying this is how it should be done, this is just a very simple demonstration. Alright, so we have some additional functionality added to our CD class that exists outside of the class file that was auto-generated for us by Visual Studio. Let's write some code that we'll read in our example XML data file and test our validation function. First, we need to add the serialization namespace that comes as part of .NET, which is cool. Then I'll add the root catalog variable that we'll be deserializing into. Now let's make a using statement that will read in our XML data file using a file stream. and create the XML serializer object based off of our catalog class. Then create a text reader from the file stream. And finally, we populate the catalog object with the XML data using the deserialize function provided by the serializer object. At this point, we have the XML data loaded up in the catalog object, so let's see if we can grab a single CD based on the title with a link query. And just for fun, let's write out the name of the artist on the console, along with a validation test of the CD object. Then we'll spit out the total number of CDs in our catalog. Okay, everything looks good. Let's run our app and see what we get. And there you have it. How cool is that? If you found this content useful, it would sure help out the channel if you would give the video a like. I cover all sorts of technologies, including software development, hardware support, and software tools. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.